I just laughed. I just really hear the others comment on.
Oh, sure. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first budget overview meeting of the 25 fiscal year budget. It's hard to believe. Didn't we just do this? I just feel like we just did this like yesterday. But anyway, when they say time flies when you're having fun. No, yeah. So anyway, so Nancy, I'll call the meeting to order. Nancy, would you call the roll?
Sure. Tim Bivens.
Here.
Mike Book. Tom Kitson.
Present.
Lara Minimi.
Here.
Nancy Naylor.
Present.
Jim Sheeline.
Here. All right. Clay is the only visitor we have. Clay, do you have anything for us this morning? Yep, good. Just listening. Yep, and with us all. So very simple agenda this morning. What we're doing is we're going to focus in on revenue projections as the opening, and then just a reminder for the committee that this year we are going to go through every single department and talk individually with the department heads. And so before we get that started, I'm sure we'll have their requests in and put together so that we can get that to you guys. So you'll have that as they come through. All right, Jeremy.
Yep.
Do you want to lead this off, or?
Will do.
Okay.
Yep. So again, as Mr. Sheeline had said, this is going to be a very high-level overview of where our revenue projections are trending right now for FY25, as well as we're going to discuss some high-level things with our FY25 draft budgets through the departments that we've gotten back. And kind of where things may be lining up and what we're going to be working on over the next essentially month and a half as we continue to really work through every single budget line item, budget request, and then try to make sure that fits within our revenue projections, and we could get a fiscally responsible, conservative budget put together that tries to work with everybody's needs the best we can. I think that's the goal every year over year. So what we're going to do, we're going to start this off with our revenue projections. And I'm going to let Reed kind of go through that. And he's created a high level spreadsheet here that you could see in the middle screen. And we're going to start.
Is that on board?
It's not. These are all created over the last few days. I will get them on board for you.
I just have a hard.
I could zoom.
I can't read that. My eyes are shot. I have glasses.
Yeah. How do you land that? How do you land that little airplane?
I know, you don't have to worry.
If I zoom in a little bit, is that better for you?
That's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, I know. That was a softball.
All right, go for it, Reed.
All right. Thanks everybody for having us. So, what we got up on the screen is kind of high level projections. I guess I first want to kind of start off with what our budget was for FY24, $16,140,000. So far, based on our run rate for this year, we're going to end up pretty close to that 16,140. I think projected right now at 16,200. So I would say on $16 million being off 50 or 60,000, it's pretty good. So this year for FY25, high level, obviously our property taxes are our largest portion of our revenue. So far, what we have back this year for that projection is the CPI number that we're going to need to use when setting our levy. The CPI number that the state provided is 3.7%. Last year, it was over our 5% cap. So our increase last year was that 5%. We're projecting about a 5% increase because we need to factor in new construction. We get a little extra for that new construction that comes online in FY25. But so, I mean, nothing, and I think that's probably a pretty good number, the 7 million. It's pretty similar in terms of our revenue projections mix as a whole. And I think that 5% increase is going to be probably where we're at. We'll be able to refine that number as we get closer to the levy, because Jen will have some more solid numbers on what exactly that increase in new construction will be. So I know we have some projects that were big projects last year that we were only able to capture about 25% of that new construction. So there'll be another 75% of that EAV coming online this year.
So on the other income, Reed, and
Yeah.
maybe I'm jumping
Sure.
ahead of, I don't mean to be, I'm looking through and I'm just thinking of all of what we plugged into the budget was one area that we hit on last year that we hadn't done before was we put in the budget for on solid waste. And so where does that, is that other income or?
That would be a transfer. So that's not actually shown.
Okay,
in
so
here.
that's not showing.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
I guess while we're on the other income side of things, I think if you're looking at, FY23 versus that FY23 actuals versus FY24 budget and FY25 budget, we were pretty close to $500,000 in FY23. Most of that's going to be interest income. And obviously rates have gone up over the last few years, but I think from a budgetary standpoint, we're being relatively conservative. We were conservative last year. I think based on the recent FOMC meetings, we're probably going to see a rate reduction in Q4 of this year. We'll see how quickly it comes down. It might just be one rate reduction in FY25, but it could be 2 or 3. So, I think we want to still be conservative with that interest income number, but I do think we'll at least get what is budgeted for. Any questions on either the property tax side of things or the other income? Right.
So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm trying to. So that 24 budget. So you're looking, so that's, okay, so that last column, that fiscal year 25, that's what you're kind of projecting, what you think where we're going to be.
Yep.
So when you did sales tax, how did you do that?
I basically looked at the trend lines for the last 4 years and what we were at currently, keeping those essentially in line, month over month of where we were coming in at. So kind of just projected those trend lines out for, they were pretty consistent on a month by month basis, right? So if 1 month was down, that month was down for all 4 years that I was looking at. So kind of kept those trend lines continuing on. Some of those, if there was an economic downturn, those would all be affected.
Sure.
But I think with, as far as I know, there's no projected downturn in FY25. So I think
So you got that. So it's basically the trend line showed then a 90,000 increase. Am I reading that right?
Yep.
On sales tax. So that's
about a 4% increase.
That's where I was going, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, the far column percent over last year.
That sounds pretty, that sounds in line.
Yeah, the far column and column M, those will be the percent over last year increases or decreases.
Lyram, did you have a question? I know you.
Yeah, I did, but I think I figured out.
Okay.
In 2021, we went from, 3 million on fines and fees for 3.1 million to 1.9, 1.7. Is
Yeah.
that the solar
Yeah.
farm, the windmill farm? permit
Yes, that's those
fees?
permit fees.
Right, and we're
Yeah.
projecting those not to be significant.
We actually got
coming
a
in.
million something that in one fee, fee in the 21 year. I think we got
Oh.
1,000,001 on one of those. So that's why it was 3 something. We're not gonna repeat that. So
No, we've actually, from a zoning fee perspective, we've projected less fee revenue this year, even over last year.
Yeah, I think we budgeted last year 400,000, and I think this year we're currently budgeting 300,000.
Correct. So, from here's essentially the high level breakdown of this. Reed has diligently put some work into a line by line of the general revenue. We can definitely get into this if you would like to get it a little bit more granular on where some of those these revenue lines come in and where they're at. Is that something that you would like to do? Or do you have any questions on specific lines that then we could break down for you?
So where, do you have it broke out? So
Talking about the
Safety Act, how much, I mean, we projected we were gonna be down in revenue,
So
400,000 on, in their neighborhood.
that's going to be in the fines and fees, I believe. Jeremy, if you could filter by column that you can't see at the moment. Filter by that class.
Yeah. By the way,
column B.
Jeremy, while you're doing that, Nancy's requesting to have a copy of that
Can we have a
breakdown.
copy of that breakdown?
Yeah.
please? Thank you.
Or if you
Column
just-
D.
Just put it on.
Or put it on,
board.
yeah.
Yeah, put
Yeah.
it on.
That's all.
Hold on. D, not B.
It'd be
Sorry.
easier to
Yeah.
look at it.
Right.
It's just easier to look at it on.
see, you should be able to, now that you have access. Oh, we need a license for his mic. So
Yeah. Can we plug my computer in? Yeah.
Can you read
You don't have to do it now. You can do it later.
It's great to have those TVs, but you gotta be
Okay.
able to read the damn stuff. See, even the non-pilot over there can't read it. Gets it. Oh. Well, technology is always wonderful, but
Only if you can see it.
yeah. $15 million, 34,000 residents. A lot of money per person.
You should be getting a pop-up on here.
Yeah, we do. And
Laptop
taxpayers
has
don't,
to me.
yeah, taxpayers don't know that. Right. That'd be a good number for us.
and Tom, that's just the county general.
That's true. Yeah.
Those numbers are really just county general. You start going in deep diving into health department, highway department that are up.
Maybe somebody's done that.
Yeah.
That's a number.
Minimized.
I mean, people complain about like taxes and stuff. We spend this much money on each person in the county for roads,
Yeah.
because the average person is,
All that's
I have no idea.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's like, whoa.
It's the click share that you need to do. So.
Paul, are we done licking our wounds over the first round of taxes? People coming in raising.
Sure.
I hope we are.
Did
We
it go any better to all of the paper and stuff?
I don't know how to measure it,
Well,
because of, and maybe it did, slow down some, but
your stress level any less?
Yeah, no, yeah, my stress level is fine. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah, didn't help that the ticker quit, but. The other thing I think you guys should be looking at too is, and this isn't a decision you have to make today or anything, but that property tax value that we show, that is strictly what's coming into county general. So there's still more in totality, there's more coming to the county. It's how you break it out or how you want to break it out. So maybe said, just something for you guys to have in the back of your mind to be thinking about.
Can you explain that? So there is more money than what's up there on the board then?
So in total, there's about $8.3 million coming to Lee County from property tax. And
For our part, right? I'm sorry.
for county general in 24, there's like 6.7 million. Then there's a little over $1 million going directly to the highway department. There's probably 100, not quite, a little less than 100,000 going to the health department directly, for that. And then there's, trying to think if there's one more big, large one I can't put in my head right now. Sorry. But yeah, in total, there's 8.3 or 8.2 maybe. And really what that is that's a breakdown based on what the board decides how they want to fund different areas. So you can fund, so like.
The cooperative extension got 90,000.
Yeah.
That doesn't flow through general. That's they get the breakout of.
Yeah, I think they get it right direct. Well, there's one that like the U of I extension. No, that goes through, that comes into county general and then we cut them a check out. But
yeah, but that's broken. I thought that when we break that out at the levy.
Well, we show how we're going to spend it. Yes. Yes. So, yeah.
And then based on that, is that how we're gonna do the budget hearings and the request?
Yeah.
We hope that they'll be below that number, right? That's
Correct.
3 million.
Yeah, correct.
Because I see it a little bit, I should have seen it years ago when we went from 13 million to 16 million because we got all these fees. So our revenues went up, then at the same time, our budget went up for the request.
Absolutely, though, because our costs went up. Yeah, I mean, and our revenue's going up in a way, like sales tax. As your costs go up, you're going to get more sales tax because what used to cost you $50 at the grocery store now costs you $100. Well, if you're still collecting 5% sales tax, it's basically doubling your sales tax, right? And so that's a function of it. But our costs go up, our labor costs go up, our paper costs go up, our electricity, everything goes up because of the inflational costs that are hitting it. Yeah. But then in the same respect, that's some of that can be offset by your revenue going up too.
So what's up on the screen right now is kind of the breakdown of where the budgeted property tax levy is for 24 and what would be for 25 is going. So the first line is that county general, which is what we're looking at today because we're only looking at county general revenues. But the next line is what's going to Veterans Administration. The next 3 lines are highway. So you're looking at, close to 1.8 million.
Oh, that's where I was.
Highway.
Yeah.
Tuberculosis within the health department is 14,000, and then county health fund.
Yeah, direct.
56.
So that's where I was saying there's
special bridge comes out of our levy.
yes.
that's also matched, right?
There is match there, yes. From the state. But the reason I brought that up was
We
just,
can go through all that when
Yeah.
David comes in.
yeah, and there
Because
was,
it's important for us to understand how his area is, because his probably of all the departments, his has the most mix of stuff going on, because you got federal money, you got state dollars from IDOT, and there's just a lot of stuff.
there's grant money coming in.
Yeah,
Money from the townships.
money for the townships, the MFT money,
Yep.
both township and county.
Yep.
Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on in his in his,
And then there's the Special Bridge Township too. So it's all, yeah.
yeah, right.
And I think we bounced around a little bit, but we were talking about the circuit clerk and fees related to the Safety Act. So the circuit clerk fees, I know we projected down a little bit maybe from what the trend line was going to be, and they are down, on a runway
Reed?
rate. Yeah.
Can you get that a little bigger?
Yeah.
I'm still having a hard time. There you go. That's better. I know. No kidding. I need to put my nose on the screen.
Please open
No,
it.
that's better. Yeah, you can pick on me all you want, Tom. It is what it is. Okay.
So
I do have an eye appointment coming up next month.
on a run rate, I don't know if there's much seasonality in her fees, but it looks like we're gonna end the year at about 240, which is maybe 10,000 less than what we had budgeted for last year. So I basically, took what last year was gonna be and projected it for FY25. I think that's probably a pretty fair amount, but I don't know if we're necessarily experiencing maybe the fee reduction that maybe wasn't initially anticipated.
Well, and then I guess that's my question. Have we adequately anticipated the pain that the Safety Act is?
I mean, it has gone down since FY22, right? They were almost at 280.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I guess maybe to rephrase a little bit, we were pretty close to what we budgeted for last year. So that projection was pretty spot on. I'm sure we reduced it a little bit. What I think we were pretty accurate last year in what we were going to get in. I wouldn't think so. Yeah. I guess any questions on the fines and fees, and anybody in particular? I mean, if we want to look at the higher dollar fines and fees.
And this has nothing, just since the sheriff is here, are we still running fairly consistent on occupancy at the jail?
So I first came in, we were over like morning.
And that's because of that though, right?
Because
Yeah, you guys can't hold them.
that's been since then.
They've been trending down. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gradually gone down about the last several months.
Okay.
Clay, I don't know, while you're here, I mean, these are your fines and fees that go to county general, bailiff, traffic fines and sheriff fees. I don't know if there's anything specific you want to talk about. I know that we're going to be getting some more revenue from the contracts that you have with Ashton and Franklin Grove. And some of that is not reflected in here yet because we haven't received some payments from one of those municipalities. So there might be a little extra in here when we find out what that is. But I mean, the Sauk Valley contract with the for the resource officer was renegotiated, which will be getting probably an extra $15,000 a year in just his contract fees. They've also supported the purchase of a new vehicle. That is, I do not believe that is in here. And then also what is not in here is one of those municipalities. I think they came on in May is when services were starting to be provided. And, you know, I think over the year between the two municipalities, it should bring in about 100,000. So, you know, there's probably, 50 or 60 that is out there. We just need to maybe put it in the right bucket.
So that will affect capital. Because that's a car that we were paying for. They're gonna basically, are they paying it for the
They're
one?
paying us to buy. Yeah.
Is that an additional car or that part of our rotation?
It's gonna be an additional one because it was typically we do 4 this year. I asked.
We had the deputy. So I mean, head of a car.
Well, that was previous.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we already took care of that part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Papa is the last year. Their contract.
So there's probably then an additional amount that we should maybe consider in the sheriff fees. Yes.
Well,
Zoom back out.
it's good to know that we're hitting the numbers that we thought,
Yep.
no surprises. Nothing.
I mean, the one that I think that we haven't talked about yet that we probably should, because it's we've got a projected going down, is the income tax. Included in that is the PPRT money. We have received notification from the state that it is anticipated to go down another 10 to 15% over their fiscal year, which is July 1st through June 30th. So we're going to start experiencing that this month. And I believe last year, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, they had notified us that it was going to go down 30%. So over the last 2 years, the PPRT money has gone down, 35-40% from FY22.
We
Actually,
were
it's
talking
about 50%.
downstairs, and I don't understand why UCCI wasn't, during the budget, because that's a function of the state budget. As far as that calculation of what comes to the local units of government. And I don't remember seeing, do you remember seeing anything? I would think that I would have thought UCCI would have just been screaming. With this type of guy, when did that guidance come out? Did that come out after the budget was passed?
Probably, well, it would have been late June when I was gone. But yeah, so in essence, going down 10 or 15% now this year going forward from the 30 to 33% it went down the year before, you're actually talking almost 50%. Because what we had in that in 23, I think we had 1.5 million, 22, 23, we had 1.5. In 25, we're going to be down to 750, which is half.
And that's something that we should communicate to both Brad and to Lee, as Lee comes on board, is a concern that the states really cut back, because that's significant for us, a smaller county. That's
Small counties. That's a significant blow.
Yeah. So I think we ought to, communicate that to the guys and, let them know that we're not happy.
Yeah, and even municipalities get a little bit of that and they're hurting with it as well.
Yeah, the trend line over from FY22 is going down a little bit between the income tax and the PPRT. I think we're projected to get pretty close to our budgeted amount from last year, but the trend line has been going down a little bit every year. So, and with notification that PPRT is going to go down even further. Don't get too out there in our projections. So just to zoom back out, is there any questions from looking at the high level that we want to dive down deeper into from a high level category?
Ukraine flag over there.
It does look like Ukraine.
It's pretty flat, so hopefully the budget request will stay close to that.
Yeah.
Keep laughing, Lyra.
But I think that you bring up a good point, Liram, in that the reason we're showing you this estimate, if you will, is there's not a lot of growth in that revenue line.
No.
Not a lot, but.
And that's going to be our challenge. So just for the committee to remember things now last year, our focus was on FOP contract. So this year we've got Teamsters contract. Whenever that gets pulled up, we've got to be taking a hard, be thinking about what we're going to be doing for non-union folks, because that what we put into place that runs out this year. So we got to be looking at that, and as far as you're not doing any headcount increase this year, are you? Yeah,
I was asking.
they were asking.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
honestly, you have.
And then one thing, and I think we need to talk about it here, just so you guys are all thinking about it, is that Jeremy and Bob and I have been talking about trying to carve out a space for an HR person, and get that in, and that would be in the
County board budget.
county board budget.
And I mean, just
So
for Clay, I mean, I think, we run payroll, so we kind of know what's going on a little bit in there, but I believe you have two officers that maybe not, at least some of their time will be, they've been called up to active duty, right? So you're going to be missing out on two employees.
One currently.
Yep. Yep. And so the rules for us as a public entity are, obviously the military is going to pay them their salary for the military, but we as a public entity have to basically make up the difference between what their salary would be here when they were working.
and we still pick up all the retirement and all that.
It's only, I believe it's only a portion of the difference is what would get classified that way.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because they have they could potentially have a military pension as well if they serve so many years, right? So,
Yeah, but as far as healthcare,
yes, healthcare, but yeah,
Other-
from an IMRF SLEP perspective, we'll only be capturing the portion that we're paying the difference on. But so we're gonna be down some sheriffs for deputies for a little bit of time, and
We have any-
adding
when
people
those
can
folks
help
come back-
control the overtime budget as well, overtime numbers.
As far as when you say those folks are coming back in October,
One guy.
One
He's coming
guy?
back. He's been gone. He's stateside. The next guy is. It's Stewart's, courthouse. that person's. Right now, we're.
Yeah, but you know, as
Well, I mean,
I'll leave it all.
without, somebody being deployed,
You've been in the
around here,
office
then
a
there's
half
another
hour.
one.
but as
You've been in your office.
Mr. Sheeline has alluded to, I mean, there is
Yeah, no, have something else.
yeah, there's multiple departments across, our county that are either short on staff currently, and or have retirements coming up that we have to be planning for. And so outside of that, as again, we have Teamsters contract negotiations coming up. That's due in November. So, we'll be working through that in the near future as well. And, that's gonna, again, change what our non-union, labor costs are as well. So just things to think about as we aren't looking at a significant increase in revenue projections per se. I think we're making sure that we're projecting on a conservative level. That does not mean that there are areas in here where we think that there actually might be more of an increase, but we can't project for the hope of, right? So, there is, that's just going to be the things that we're going to have to work through as we continue to go through the budget hearing cycle. And, before we place the budget on file, it's going to be an interesting task to try to make sure that we're balancing this out. That being said, there is optimism out there, right? I mean, I think every time that I try to talk about the budget or finances or revenues is, to try to make sure that the board keeps an open mind when we have different opportunities to have revenue streams come into the county, that may seem on surface like, there might be some negatives to this, right? Well, there's always going to be negatives to something, but what's the benefit and the positive impact to not just the county service operations, but, to our constituents through that. So, I think as the years continue to change and develop, right? Like, over the last couple of years, we had to deal with solar and green energy and wind farms and what that impact looks like to, our fertile farm ground and that economy there, but then how it affects the other side of the economy on our side, right? And the revenue streams and what that does as we're looking at more commercial and industrial development throughout the county, which is, exciting. And there is, room for optimism there. I think that we will see a little bit of an upward turn in the near future, a little bit more quicker than we expect. But again, we have to budget for what we see now and what the projections are, and we can't just assume that we're going to have these influx of tax revenues and other fees coming in.
Well, the unfortunate thing there, Jeremy, as you well know, is that you may have a development that you say that we can announce and be all excited, and we don't see the revenue from that for 3 years, or in the case, or more, depending on what the between the enterprise zone. Yeah, so yeah, it's economic development is. There are some things, and it's good that you point out the positives. We've got some exciting things down the road, but they're down the road.
Exactly. And Reed and I were just talking about that yesterday, weren't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there any other lines that you'd like to get into with a little bit more detail from this high level projection?
One comment that I have for the committee to understand that we really did a good job. I think I'm not looking for a pat on the back. I'm looking at Paul, but I'm not looking for it, Larry. But we tightened up. If you guys remember, in the last number of years, we were, when we did the budget, the revenue side, we were, one year we were up $1.3 million or some ridiculous thing. And thank God we had that, or else we wouldn't have been able to do the things we did in the FOP contract and whatnot. That's kind of over.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to, as a committee, we need to understand that the cushion that we once had isn't there anymore. And that means we're gonna have to be a little harder nosed, as we look and set priorities. As the departments come through and we put this thing together. So just a comment, just me and my soapbox again. Sorry. So
I think we started the year last year when we put the expenses against that revenue, we were 1.1 short. We had a deficit of 1.1 that we had to come and figure out. So
we did.
to be honest with you, I'm somewhat anticipating maybe a similar number.
Yeah.
At least between $500,000 and 800,000 deficit is what I would anticipate right now.
So we're still working through the department budgets. We got all of the drafts back. And we have been, trying to identify anything that sticks out significantly with them, as we're trying to work through those with them, the departments before our budget hearings, and then we'll be able to work through those a little bit further. And Reed right now is compiling essentially all that data to be able to say, hey, okay, this is where our projected deficit would be if we were in the budget just like this, right? There's some numbers out there that we're still waiting on, just to get a little bit of a ballpark on where things are at. But, for the most part, as we went through the department draft budgets, I mean, there obviously are things that we're going to look into, where the requests are at and why some of the numbers are where they are, but there wasn't a substantial amount of things that was like, oh, this is egregious, right? Again, I think it's the knowledge that we all have that there is going to be a need for either, more money spent in our payroll, right? And how we work that in within the other needs of the department, each department. And, that's just going to be the thing that we're going to have to take a look at as we want to continue to become a quality, and I know we are a quality employer, but as we continue to grow and become a quality employer, retain employees and keep them here while working efficiently within the systems that we have. So, again, as we go through each department, you will pretty much notice that it is a standard request that you're going to see in there for more money, and the salary lines, for either more heads in the department or trying to prepare for the increase that they want to see within that. And when we've been talking to the departments, we've been consistently talking about essentially a 3 to 5% assumption within their budget projections as we're just working through that. And most of the time I'm saying 3. So, we're just so you guys are aware that that's kind of where most of them are at. Some departments have put in a little bit of a higher request. So we'll work through that as we get there, but I just want to identify that that's going to be the consistent player in pretty much every department.
You guys will have all that put together. So I was looking at our schedule. So we've got August 6th will be our first date to start going through departments. And it'd be nice to have all the budget requests put up on board, and so the committee will have access to that and this stuff.
Yep. So essentially, we just received our last draft budget yesterday, I do believe.
Yeah.
And so, over the last week and then early part of this week, Reed, myself, and when Paul got back, Paul have been going through every single budget and trying to get through some of those things. And then once we have all the lines filled out through some of the questions that we have with the department heads, we will then go back. As I said, Reed's already been compiling all that. We'll have that full breakdown completed. That will be an onboard, and then you'll be able to look through that prior to that meeting. And then we could identify some things.
Okay.
Any other questions on general revenue or just kind of the budget process as it stands? I'll tell you, I mean, the department heads have been great, you know, getting everything back and working with us, and I appreciate Reed and Paul and the wisdom of Paul, that's, you know, and his experience with this, and Reed and I being the newbies here. You know, while Paul was on vacation, we were just hammering it out the best we could. And, you know, it's been great to have this team. Did you want to talk capital at all? Or at least, or
We've got time.
We do have
So
time.
I figured we'd run an hour this morning.
Yep.
And so we've got 15 minutes left.
Okay.
Let's take a look, see what capital looks like as of right now.
Yeah. And again, keep in mind that this is going to change, right? And I think there's still some capital requests that we're working through, trying to understand where those might fall. But I think Reed's pulling it up right now, and I was able to add in, combine a couple files this morning, Reed.
Okay. Oh, in this, where'd you do it?
Online.
Okay.
So, you know, what we're looking at here is as we're compiling the capital requests coming through, you know, you're going to see again as usual, the two most significant requests departments, and that's going to be maintenance facilities, and then the sheriff's department. But there's another one in there that's pretty significant, and that is the system through the circuit clerk's office. And there's $1 million request that's in there for a system update and upgrade. So the current system, you know, again, this has been something that Amy Johnson has been working through for the better part of this entire year plus, trying to vet the court systems that are out there, the case management software. And, you know, I think that with that, she's been working through those expenses, trying to identify the best one that's going to work within the other systems and softwares that we have throughout the court systems, because there's multiples that have to coincide and work together. And, you know, I'm not sure, I have not yet talked to Amy about that number, but if that is what an estimate came back on where she's expecting this to look, you know, to land, but that's going to be, I mean, that's a significant number.
So on that one, she's got what? Remind me, Reed, 1.2, $1.3 million in her, because she has a file management fund. She's got a significant amount of money in there. That should be able to.
It's going to offset some of the costs.
Yeah.
Right.
It might not be dollar for dollar.
Right.
But I think 1.2, 1.3, isn't it?
I'd have to look
Yeah,
over
and
there.
some of that is holding money that she holds until it's dispersed out at the end of each month. But consistently, that's about a dollar value is 113 in terms of funds outside of county general or capital. Some of that though is not technically her money. It's the funds, the court funds that come through her office. But yes, she does have some available that I think we should be asking everybody, hey, do you have funds outside of capital or county general that are in restricted funds that could be used for capital, you know, for improvements?
The challenge there is really, it's not so much Amy, but it's Judge Ackert.
Correct.
Who controls that. And so we'll have to have conversation with Judge Ackert of what she's thinking of what we could, you know, defray that case management update with those dollars and where she feels comfortable. So
if you're looking at least the projected capital budget as it stands right now, I mean, again, there's going to be quite a bit of conversation around this, and I would assume there's a potential for more to come in. But, you know, right now we're still, from this FY24's budget, I mean, we still have, you know, we budgeted $4.65 million in capital expenses. we have 3.9 remaining, right? We know that there's going to be another big expense coming out with the finalization of the HVAC project across the street with Allied. Some of these.
So, sorry, Jeremy, but,
Yep.
but the 3.9, that does or does not include ARPA expenditures?
That does not include.
That does not include
ARPA expenditure. This was just capital expenditures projections or the budget from last year. So, you know, again, as I said, there's still going to be a pretty big chunk that comes out of Allied this year, or for it to finalize and finish off that Allied HVAC project across at New Courts. A handful of these that you will see from at least a facilities standpoint was in the budget, like let's say to start work on the old LEC for the remodeling projects on there. That didn't start, right? So we're just transferring the expectation of starting in FY25. You know, so that's where you're going to see some of these projects really never came to fruition or realized in FY24. So you're going to see just a holdover for FY25, at least from a facility standpoint. You know, a couple pieces in there that will stick out. You know, there's going to.
I don't, one of the things that because some of this is kind of a mess. And one thing, because we kind of have a mishmash of stuff, and it'd be nice if we could figure out a way to get that cleaned up so that we know what's been done, what's over with, and
Yep, and actually
that up.
most of everything on here is going to be, I mean, there's a couple pieces, right? So we're going to remove discretionary, the boiler replacement's been done, so that'll be cleaned up, but we started cleaning up everything else. So what is on here is going to be continued requests currently, at least from a maintenance standpoint, except for the ones up top. So like I combined the LED lighting, you know, that was broken out into two different requests, one for old LEC or one for this building, the old courthouse, and one for the new courthouse. Well, it's still, it doesn't, you know, to me, it's just multiple buildings. We have an LED. We're going to start working through potentially an LED replacement program with ComEd. So that's going to work through some of that. You know, again, the concrete projection projects, you know, that's ongoing. So some of these are just ongoing expenses that we're going to see. The elevator cost that you see, I mean, that you've seen an elevator cost probably for the last 3 to 3 year budget years, right?
Cleaned up with that.
Well, but that's not, because that cost is for the old LEC elevator. So again, you know, when we're going through that remodel, the old LEC elevator, there's going to be a significant
And I guess
cost.
that's the one that I'd like to see, because we've got that's the one that's kind of the mismatch in there, because there's a piece of it there and here and
So
there.
what you would prefer to see is it as one project
Correct.
cost. Perfect. I'd love to see that
We do
too,
that.
which is why I'm trying to combine some of those.
That's what I mean. Like
Yep.
cleaning it up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all know what's going to be in there. We could communicate what is in those project costs, but putting it as
Well,
as
it's
one.
just like Tom comes back to us and comes back to me and says, you know, I don't have any money. You know, Sheila won't give me any money. But the reality is that, yeah, there is money set aside for specific things. You just got to look at the capital budget and see where it is.
Right.
And maybe if we get this, you know, the stuff cleaned up and it's more understandable for Tom and for us to be able, you know, to know
Definitely
where we're at.
That's an easy task. I mean, I could clean this up today and have it to you in, 10 minutes.
Awesome.
But you know, so that's what we're trying to do. I was trying to combine some items within the projects. But for the most part, you know, we're still looking at, you know, as it stands, a $4.8 million capital request, right? Within the projects throughout the requested departments. I mean, again, that case management's $1 million. You know, that at least that's what we're projecting right now. I know we need to understand what that cost is a little bit further, but you know, if that wasn't there, which is a new cost, we're at 3.8. So there's a couple vehicles that are in here. One, we need a vehicle replacement that for maintenance. There's one that needs to be rotated out. You know, we obviously have, there's a vehicle in here for animal control, which has been cycled down to this budget process. That was a request that came in about 3 months ago. So that's in there. And then, you know, again, there's squads in there from the sheriff's department, as well as another squad to pull some bigger equipment and things throughout the LAC and then EMA. So is there anything that you wanted to look into a little bit further, or since you're here, Clay, did you want to talk about any of your requests? I mean, we're going to talk about this again down the road, so you know what I mean? I don't know if this is just high level conversation, but hey, since you're here.
Expedition, budget. Right now, currently Kevin Lally's truck.
Right, and you know, like you know, there's highway has a new dump truck that's desperately needed on here, and pickup, you know, replacement for another highway truck. So again, there's just, I think we're starting to see a little bit of, you're going to see some vehicle rotation that's going to be on this capital budget that are all hitting at once, which is going to be on here, and just I just want you to be aware of that. But
So that dump truck, sorry, Clay, that dump truck, that's a carryover from what
Correct.
was scheduled in the past.
Correct.
So that's not a new request. That's
No.
just a
Right, and that was
process.
it's been in process.
Right.
Right.
So, yeah, go ahead, Clay.
Portable radio, we've been, with video arraignments. Jail. Actually, did. The base work, but it has to be a cost.
Sure, we'll put, yeah. Let's put two.
Portable now, so signal strength for the radio is low, so it goes cellular or it goes to Wi-Fi. So we try those out. Actually, that should. Protesting. That's a big thing. I know. We're all ahead and know this is coming. But they still wanted to. That's a big ticket item up there. Help out with the you have some in-building coverages or deputies, just hospital. College. Really or Wi-Fi. So is there Wi-Fi? Right there.
So on your body cams, where are we at? Looks like we've got 200,000 remaining that we haven't spent. So what? Yeah. Oh, you haven't got the bill yet?
I'm waiting for a big bill. We're still getting the cars. With the system, cars. Video to make an area of the body. Still getting some of those. Carry that over for another.
So how does those things work? So you do a stop. The guys have to activate them, or are they on 24/7? You know, they go on duty and they're running. Or how's that work?
Go back up 15 seconds. We'll have the audio, video prior to watch guard system that we have. We have squad video for the record.
So, and we're carrying the storage on that? Okay. Well, yeah, that way we're not maintaining servers.
You got a grant for some of these cameras.
We just got it.
That's gonna help, I mean, it's,
Well, that's
right, right.
Right.
Oh, so-
Yeah. All right. Okay, anything else on capital? Anybody has questions on or want to dive into?
And again, just keep in mind, this is all in a draft process right now, and we'll continue to clean it up and get things buttoned up a little bit more as we continue to work through this. But just wanted to give you a high level look at where things sit currently. You know, and it's not all doom and gloom, but we have to stay conservative, you know, and we'll continue to work through this process and try to assist our department needs the best we can. Because again, at the end of the day, as if our departments can run efficiently and continue to retain staff and we have most of the needs taken care of, it better serves our constituents. It really does. So.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
I sold plaster work over there and I just thought about something. When Tom Demmer was our representative, we were supposed to get a grant for building Illinois Trust Build
That was
Funds.
the tuck pointing, right?
To talk,
Yeah,
just that.
I think
That was the
not
tuck
the
pointing.
plastic.
We received that and yeah, that's done.
That's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so next meeting in our process, according to the schedule, we've got we're to Monday, August 5th, and that's the evening meeting, the 7 o'clock meeting with the social services budgets. So that'll be the next time we get together, and then the next day on Tuesday we'll be starting our department heads. So does anybody have any questions or comments or in regards to the schedule? Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything? Any guys, you have anything else you want to cover this morning? Committee, anything, questions right now? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Kitson, second by Naylor. All those in favor, sorry, Nancy was beat you, Larry. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carried. Thanks, everybody.